Old and old and busted Terminator Dark Fate puts franchise on ice, faces a $120 million loss. Terminator Dark Fate is officially a huge flop at the box office.
What'd I say?
It is a failure. John Connor is fucking dead.
All for nothing.
Eddie Furlong's all for nothing. So my favorite film of all time, and it's your favorite action movie of all time. Joe, you like Terminator 2, yeah?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
It's my favorite.
What?
He likes Sex Squatch.
Yeah, Sex Squatch. But they fucking make that film. They shit all over that film. And it didn't quite, like, I don't know. I guess I thought that maybe by the end of the film, Eddie Furlong wouldn't be dead, and it'd be a different timeline or something, and he would pop out of a bubble, and he could still be there, right? And for whatever reason, that didn't click with me that shit is over. Skynet is done. Everything that I loved is done.
Yes.
In favor of the characters that Joe said did not connect with him at all. That Alex said were given nothing to do. That were pale versions of themselves. And that we noticed. We didn't even remember the character's name. Her name is Danny. She's the John Connor replacement. But she's somehow less interesting and worse than John Connor when he was a little kid. And, you know, he wasn't having to be the leader of the Resistance yet. We never got to see that except for in a flash-forward scene where he doesn't say a word. But even in that flash-forward scene where he's looking through the glasses and looking all badass, he still seems like a better leader than Danny in this film, where she actually gets scenes where she's leading people, and you don't buy it. I don't ever, and we said this in our review, I don't ever want to see another film in this timeline, in this franchise.
They killed it.
Yeah, where Legion is in charge. So I went searching for answers. Because I was
As one does.
how could this happen? And especially seeing it bomb and finally get the final numbers in. I want an explanation. Oh, my God, I slammed my camera off. I want an explanation on why Tim Miller would kill John Connor. Why do you think Tim Miller killed John Connor?
He wanted to make his own movie. He wanted to live in the shadow of James Cameron.
Why do you think Tim Miller killed John Connor?
Because he's going to be like, oh, they're going to remember this. Let's do something crazy.
That's why he killed John Connor.
I was like, it's crazy, stupid.
He did it for the stupidest, most dumb-ass fucking reason in order for the shock value. Right. So he Alien 3'd, okay? John Connor killed, like, you know how Newt and fucking, you know, Hicks is dead at the beginning of Alien 3, and it went in a direction nobody wanted. That's what Dark Fate does. And it didn't sink into me that Skynet is done. It's not coming back. John's not coming back. None of that is coming back. It's over with. And they are forced to continue in this kind of way. But it's not going to happen since it bombed, right? So you not only did you kill John Connor for no reason, I wanted an explanation. Well, he went on record here. Why Terminator Dark Fate delivered that John Connor twist, according to Tim Miller, the director himself. Obviously, it's we're very invested in these characters. This is why it worked. The friendship between the T-800, Arnold's character, and Eddie Furlong, John Connor, this bond in this amazing movie, and Sarah Connor cultivating that and being suspicious, but slowly learning to trust it, and it's all gone. So why did he kill this kid, a shotgun blast to his chest at the beginning of the movie when they're supposed to have, you know, defeated them and protected it? Well, you think killing off John was probably a controversial decision, but it really wasn't.
Yes, it was.
What? What? He's in his own fucking world. He's in his own fucking world. There was a lot of talk at early stages of, should this new savior be someone who is connected to the Connors? right? This new savior. Why do you have to feel like you have a new savior? You had a perfectly good opportunity to continue the story. Should it be John's daughter or something? Why does it have to be his daughter? Like, as if you're forcing it to be a woman or a girl or something, right? Should it be, which I was always against. Oh, okay, well, he's doing going. But I'm just not a fan of the Chosen One sort of movie. As much as I am of a hero sort of rising to meet adversity. Are you fucking kidding me? That is exactly who Danny is. She's a chosen one. Just like John Connor is. What the fuck is this guy talking about, Alex?
I don't know.
Well, he got kicked out, right, of Deadpool, right?
Yes, he got
kicked
fired
out
from
from
Deadpool
Deadpool
2.
2.
Yeah,
But he did a good job in Deadpool 1. I really
Maybe
fucking
started going
liked that
crazy.
film.
Too much pressure? I don't know.
I identify with those people much more than I do with Neo in The Matrix or King Arthur or something like that. Well, then you would not be able to identify with Danny in this film because she does the same exact shit that John Connor did. She... unfucking believable that you don't even understand the film itself. And you're fucking the lore. So I was all for this being some new person that wasn't connected to the Connors and had been chosen by the hand of fate. What? You just contradicted yourself. I'm not a fan of the Chosen One.
But as the chosen.
So I was all for this, chosen by the hand of fate. Why did we let Tim Miller do this to Terminator? Why? At least in Genesis, I got a little bit of John Connor and Kyle Reese and the original characters and trying to do something. At least in Genesis, they were trying to upgrade the models, the Terminators, in interesting ways. And they did that. And in Terminator Dark Fate, it's backwards as fuck. The Rev 9 is stupid as shit. In the future, they have no weapons. There's no purple lasers. Alex pointed this out. That they're just spiky bits.
Yeah, it's basically like the Matrix spiders.
Well, it's stupid as fuck. And then, by the way, they have the most powerful weapon who they kind of render the Terminator lore pointless. Because if you really think about it, bipedal robots are not the most efficient way of killing the human resistance. There's a fantasy element there. There's a wish fulfillment element there. There's the human resistance and fight back against a tangible enemy. But no, what it would really be like, and they hinted at that, is these little balls, each of them as destructive power of a daisy cutter or something, and they fly over in one scene, completely missing the transport, which they could have destroyed the transport at any point, but then one flies down and blows up the whole transport, but leaves 7 soldiers there and the whole human resistance base right there, and the rest of them just fly away like they did nothing. Like, where the fuck are they going? They could have put one more bomb and killed the commander and everybody there. What makes Danny a good commander?
She's the chosen one. Oh, I mean,
No, not the chosen
not the
one.
chosen one. She was chosen by the hand of fate.
Dark
She
Fate.
wasn't the chosen one.
But how
Chosen
is
by the
Danny any fucking different from John Connor? She's
easy.
not.
They both got trained by Sarah Connor. They're the same person.
She's
She's a woman.
exactly. You just switch the sex. And I don't know why they did this to the lore. Why they felt the need to kill John Connor and replace him with Danny, who is a less interesting character, a copy of the character. In fact, if you're a feminist, you should be upset with this film, because it's like that thing where it's like you got Hulk, well, you got the She-Hulk. It's just the same thing as Hulk, just a woman. That's essentially what you've done here. Whereas it makes no sense because the original franchise made Sarah Connor a badass female without shoving it in your face that, I don't have to have a man protect me. She didn't running around saying that constantly. She was just doing her thing, trying to protect her child. But no, in this film, it is, it's a man doesn't save the universe, it's you, and all this. But I don't actually think, was it go woke, get broke?
This is bad writing.
Get woke, go broke? No, I think what? Well, then why did it fail? You tell me why you think it failed.
Because the writing was
Shat
bad.
on the lore.
No,
of 1 and 2.
that is not how movies work these days, and you know it, Alex, because the Transformers series would not have made so much money in the first one, and the second one, and the third one, and the fifth one, and the sixth one, and the seventh one. If bad writing was really, that's what you care about. That's what critics care about. But it's not why audiences go to the theater. So what I'm trying to figure out, not from a critic standpoint, but from a mass audience standpoint, why did nobody show up in the seats for this? And I have the answer, but I just want to see what you guys think.
I just think
You
it was
have
pretty-
the answer?
I think I have mine.
Well, I mean, the difference between Transformers and Terminator is like the audience. Like Transformers are made for mass audience, and Terminator is not made for mass audience. It's a rated R movie versus a rated PG movie, and so one movie's going to make a ton of money, and the other one's going to have a much harder road to go up.
Right.
I mean, and these movies, all of these headlines are garbage. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I mean,
What are you saying that's not true? This is 100% true.
That is 100% true, but the going to lose $120 million and lose $100 million. We have direct parallels with other movies in the exact same category that made almost the exact same amount of money in Pacific Rim Uprising. Remember how bad that movie was?
Yes,
Also
thank
rated
you.
R, made $28 million instead of $29 million. That movie still
If
made
you're talking
money.
about Pacific Rising.
Uprising, yes. Pacific Rim 2.
Uprising. That wasn't those numbers held up by China. China doesn't give a fuck about the Terminator anymore. They actually cared about Genesis. When you take all these considerations here, you have to realize that there's also a marketing budget. Are you factoring in the marketing budget?
Yeah. It's the same. It's just they're not juicy headlines to report. So
Okay, but
people-
you don't think it's going to lose 120 million is
No,
what you're saying.
Not at all.
Okay. Do you think it's a bomb?
Yes.
Okay.
It definitely did way
Do you
worse
think
than
it's going to lose money for Paramount and Disney? and-
No, they may say that they do for the, you know how they like to be clever with their accounting to say they lost money so they don't have to pay people out, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like that's standard movie accounting.
Uh-huh.
Sure, they probably will say they lost money, but this movie will probably make 300, 400 million in the next 6 months.
Okay, well let's take that number. 300, 400 million. I think that is way optimistic. Let's see what Terminator Genesis ended at. Okay. So 440 and so you were saying 300 to 400?
Yeah.
You're dead on. Because, you know, if it did what? Maybe a few million less in debut?
No, this one did more.
A few million more. 29 versus 27.
Yeah.
And that is assuming that everything goes right and that China does love it, even though they say that China didn't love it as much as Genesis. It's doing less than that. So that's why you gave it a little bit of leeway.
Less.
So
Yeah.
300 million to 400 million. Well, the budget, the budget, some idiot gave this film more budget, $185 million in budget.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have to realize, I think the thing that you're forgetting is that the international take. So the domestic box office of 29 million, at least in the opening weekend, they get that. But the international is often, you don't get 100% of that. So when they say, oh, it made another 100 million there, you don't get 100 million. You get 40 million maybe of that. It gets cut in half through the distributors, through the different countries, and all these other things. And then take into account that a good rule of thumb is to double the budget, especially if you really feel it and you see a lot of marketing. And I felt it for Terminator Dark Fate. I
There's
saw it
no
on
way they spent
YouTube. I
200.
saw, not 200. I think maybe 100 million.
Sure.
Maybe 100 million in marketing, but maybe more. I mean, we don't know exactly, but 100 million or more. So that's 185 plus, let's say, bare minimum 100, 285, and maybe more than that. So around 200, and you think the film's going to do 300?
I think 300, 400
That
total.
actually makes 100 million for them?
No, I don't think it's going to make 100. I don't think there's any way that they're going to lose. If you actually go, like, you peek behind the curtain and see what it is, they will make some amount of money. And then when you talk about distribution rights on streaming
but the whole
and Netflix,
thing is they need to make profit. They need to make hella profit so they know the franchise is hot, okay? We're all arguing over small little bits. Well, this movie underperformed. Not only did it underperform underperform for Disney and Paramount, but it's going to underperform in international markets where Genesis was performing strong. And it's basically destroyed and killed the Terminator franchise. I don't think, and I don't think you think, that they're going to make another one in this universe.
I don't want them to. I mean, who knows?
You wouldn't put it past them?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Right.
I think that they definitely could.
I would put it past them. Because if they're noticing they're not making money with it,
they should have
and
stopped making Terminator movies in the 90s.
And every time, they're not going to make another movie. And the point is, because they're not going to make another movie, they've left the franchise in utter shambles, in a destroyed state. So I love the Terminator franchise, and I eventually would love to make a Terminator board game or a miniatures game or something. But now you're telling me in the official lore that John Connor is dead and Danny is the Resistance and the Skynet bullshit is destroyed, and now we have Legion and all their stupid shit, right? From a gaming and mechanic standpoint, from a cool design standpoint, those new fucking Terminators are dumb compared to the cooler Skynet and old ones. And it makes me so angry. This is canon now. This is, I'm over here. It's okay because it's an Elseworld story. No! This is canon.
No, he did.
John Connor is dead.
He did.
Well, only from
and
1996
Skynet
forward.
is destroyed. So, and then another point that I wanted to make, at least with this video, is that Tim Miller doesn't even understand the goddamn story, right? And he's confused in himself. And he ultimately killed John Connor for nothing, because if they stopped Skynet, if John Connor and Sarah Connor stopped Judgment Day, there was no reason to take it that one step further and kill him at the beginning of the film. You could have just done this whole film where Danny is the leader of the Resistance for Legion, and you've got these Legion Terminators, and then you've got this interplay on this, and it could be at the end of the film, John is one of the generals who shows up, or he shows up at the end of the film to help out, and then you've got an interplay between John and Danny, a much more interesting film. Or Alex's idea where they play with the creator of Legion and make it more interesting in a different way.
I want Danny to be the next Dyson, where she was the one that develops the technology, and that the Terminator sent to protect her is actually the bad guys in the future. And you could do cool things with the story.
You could flip it all on its head. You know what I'm
Instead, they
saying?
did something generic, and it turned out to be bad.
And it was a remake of T2.
Yep.
Only it destroys T2 first, and then it does T2 again, only worse. And then the third act is a CGI fest that falls apart. And yeah, it's interesting and turn your brain off entertainment with explosions and a fucking plane slamming into another jet, and then for some reason this jet takes off, doesn't attack the other plane, then the plane slams into another plane, and then they're flying up in the fucking thing in 0G gravity, and then the Jeep falls out, and then the car fucking van falls, and then this Jeep falls, and it falls fine, and then but it's got the parachute, and then it slips even more, and it falls against the side of the dam, and then the dam falls, and then the dam slips, and then the fucking Rev 9 comes down, Wall Grace is coming up, and then it slams into the water, and then we have an underwater goddamn. It is convoluted as fuck.
Yes.
It is messy to look at upon second watching, and I watched it again. It just doesn't hold up quite as well, and you've destroyed my franchise.
Unfortunately.
Well, not me.
Is there in
You didn't.
history?
It's not your franchise. But it is your franchise, and you just don't realize it. It's your favorite action film
Well, for sure.
of all time. So
Absolutely.
that's your franchise.
No. Only if you hold weight into the stuff that they've made after they peaked, right? So I don't like the Indiana Jones kept going after The Last Crusade. Not for me. I didn't watch any of them, and I'm not going to.
You should see the Crystal Skull.
Oh, yeah. So you didn't say I didn't watch any of that stuff. And so it's like I know what was important to me growing up and when I was watching movies, and I realized that everything after that are either cash grabs. They're low-effort cash grabs a lot of the time. I did watch Terminator 3. It wasn't very good. So when Salvation came out and it didn't look good, I didn't watch it. When Genesis came out, it didn't look good, so I didn't watch it. And so I'm telling these people, stop making movies. The super fan doesn't even want to watch them because you didn't look like you did a good job.
Yeah.
This one, it looked kind of like they were going to do a good job because they hooked me in with, produced by James Cameron, and he got a writer credit. Then Linda Hamilton was coming back, and she was going to be in it. And then Arnold was going to come by. So it's like, maybe they got together.
It's like, all right, let's check this out.
But then it's like, that's on me. That my dumbass gave them money when I watched this movie, and I'm not going to do it again unless we have to do a review on it, and maybe I'll be sick that week.
No, you won't be sick that week. It's time. It's time. The Terminator Dark Fate destroyed the franchise. It's time to let the franchise finally go to the great beyond. Mm-hmm. And it is. I think they need to take a break. Fox is absorbing you say all these articles are wrong. I'm sure there's some numbers in there that we're not factoring in. They say if it doesn't hold up well in international, it could end up losing $100 million.
I was just looking at the Pacific Rim articles, and all the articles for the Pacific Rim Uprising said the same thing. Oh, terrible opening weekend, only made $30 million, not as good as the first one.
Yeah,
and then it makes $390 million total. Pacific Rim Uprising didn't have Arnold in it. It was also a bad story. It cost a ton of money, and they advertised it everywhere. And in China, didn't even like Pacific Rim Uprising. It only made $100 million in China.
So you're saying a lot of these articles are bullshit. They're just trying to grab attention.
They're not clickbait, but they're pretty damn close to clickbait.
They're close to clickbait. But I agree mostly with these articles that the studio is not happy with the way it performed.
Mm-hmm. Domestically, they would say
domestically and internationally, it's already tracking low. Mm-hmm. So this may be the last of the franchise. This may be the last time we get to see Arnold. This may be the last time we get to see Sarah Connor, these original characters. And what is the last time we got to see them? In the worst way possible, destroying T2 and leaving the franchise in a worse state. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Legion. I don't want to see Danny. These are characters that are worse than John Connor, that are worse than Sarah Connor. And even Carl, who we liked and we thought was funny, is dead now. Okay, so he's not coming out. In order to bring back Arnold another fucking time
travel.
It would have to be one. Oh, all those ones they sent multiple ones. There's another Carl, and this guy is named I don't know.
He has a cupcake factory.
Fucking Bob,
Earl.
No, it's Earl. Definitely Earl.
You can only do so much.
And it's like no. At that point.
Old.
At that point, it's no. And by the time they do another film, it'll be like 4 or 5 years, and she's too old, and it's no. She doesn't even want to do it. She said they had to drag her to do this one.
What? Linda Hamilton has a sister. Make her do it.
No. And so that makes me so mad, the way this thing is ending, and it's all sat in my mind now, and I am fucking pissed. The honeymoon phase has ended for me. And it sucks to see, because I know you guys knew this was going to happen.
Yes.
The franchise is dead. But I think the Terminator, I may be crazy, but I think the Terminator franchise has potential to tell interesting stories. Mm-hmm. And they've just never had the goddamn balls to go beyond that. They did. Terminator Salvation told a future story. But I think that they did it wrong. And when they did do that, that film made money. It made more than $300 million. It might have been $400 million, something like that. But I guess it just didn't make enough money. And then the rights got mixed up and reverted to somebody else. And when you get a big actor like Christian Bale and he doesn't feel it's successful enough and he doesn't want to come back for another one, then you're fucked. You can't go like that and rely on Christian Bale to be the next Arnold in all the Terminator films, the ones that draw them in and put their butts in the seat. So why, though, did Terminator Dark Fate fail? I promised that I would tell you what I thought. Here's the sad reality. Our current generation, the people out there now, do not give a shit about Terminators anymore. They don't care about the Terminator franchise.
We've been burned too many times.
Only I care about Terminator franchise, right? And for the fans out there, as he said, They have been burned too many times because their fans will go to the other ones, and they've been burned too many times. Yep. And they don't go out and pick out individual pieces. Oh, that concept's cool. I like that. And maybe they could have done this or maybe they could have done that. Whereas I do that and I inflate the scores, right? But it wasn't the movie that I watched. It was the movie that was in my head that they didn't do.
It's a crazy person.
Yeah.
It's a crazy person. I know. When it comes to Terminator, I'm crazy. And I just want this franchise to be treated good. So I'm almost happy that it didn't do well, so that if they reboot it in the future, they have to do it completely differently. They have to not do it with Arnold. They have to not do it with Sarah Connor. They have to tell stories, hopefully in the future war or something, if they want to continue this. Is that what you think they'll do? Or do you think they will literally roll out wheelchairs for Arnold and Linda Hamilton?
No, I think that the de-aging software is getting better, and I think that they're getting better with motion capture
They've
stuff.
already done de-aged Arnold like 15 times.
Yeah, why stop now?
Because it bombs over and over and over. It bombs.
If these movies were bombing so hard and like really losing a ton of money, would they keep trying with the same formula and the same garbage?
Because people want to retain the license. That's why they keep doing it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that if they were losing $100 million, $200 million, they wouldn't just light it on fire for the sake of keeping a license.
So let me talk about the future of the Terminator franchise. So what do we have? What do we have coming up next for Terminator?
This is supposed to be a trilogy, right?
It was supposed to be a trilogy. Yeah. I don't think the trilogy is moving forward. Alex thinks there's maybe a little bit higher chance than I do if it does well internationally and it breaks even, then maybe they'll take the chance to do it again and just ignore everybody.
With a much lower budget, much lower marketing. Because, I mean, if
That's what I think it needs. That's what I think you need to do with the Terminator franchise. Give it to A24. Give it to an indie studio. Give it to somebody and purposefully put a fucking restriction on them. And have them do creative shots, creative lighting, but keep it in the future war. Keep it a very simple story. No more time travel. No time travel more. Just future war and that. So, but what's next for Terminator? Well, there's actually a big Terminator release this year, not including Dark Fate. It is Terminator Resistance.
Resistance.
By Teon, guys. By Teon. The makers of Rambo! So after I have to go through Terminator Dark Fate and have my franchise destroyed, now one of my worst, most angry reviews, the developer of the person that made that game, is picking up my franchise and is making a game on
what's that, Joe? You thought it was over? No, we're going to tarnish everything you love.
It's coming. Now, Piotr emailed me, and it's an actual developer of that game.
Oh, he reached
maybe
out?
a PR guy. Yes,
nice.
they reached out because remember in our video we were like, hey, contact us. I want to make sure everything is. Yeah, there he is. He's a producer on the game. He's a producer at Teon. He says, thanks for giving us some credit after watching the announcement. I'm really glad that you like the setting, and hopefully you like our game as well. I believe it's a big step up after Rambo, and your review of that one had definitely a big impact on our team. I was trying to reach out to you via your Twitter website forum. I apologize for spamming, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not sure if you've already seen it, but we released 2 new videos. And so I looked at these videos. Okay, let's look at the video now. And I saw this. What's this? This one here. This is opening gameplay, and this one is combat gameplay.
This sounds good.
But as a fan, I've already yelled at Piotr because they got something wrong. Watch this, and you tell me as a Terminator fan what is wrong. No. There it is. There it is. What is this? What is this? There's the Terminators. They're coming by. They're firing. These are red lasers. The lasers aren't red. The lasers are purple. How difficult is it to simply queue up Terminator 2 and see purple lasers? They've always been purple.
every week. We go through this every week here at the Angry Joe Show.
Right.
Purple lasers.
It is purple lasers. I have team meetings
Remember
before
that.
we start our review of Call of Duty to remind my
Purple.
employees that the lasers are purple in Terminator, not red.
Never gonna forget that.
So
Purple.
I have emailed him immediately in a joking type of email saying the lasers are purple. You need to change this immediately. So we'll see what happens.
Hashtag JK.
Yeah.
JK,
It's not happening.
I did say just kidding, but I'm not really. Okay? So this is important to me. This is my favorite franchise. Please don't butcher it.
This one on.
Uh,
Purple lasers.
Lasers. And maybe in the future we could do a Terminator board game. But at that point,
Purple lasers.
if they tell me do Legion, I'm going to say no.
Be like, what the fuck is that?
I'm out of here.
Fuck is that?
What is
I'm
that?
head out. I'm a head
Legion?
out.
Don't know what that is.
What's a crystal skull? I
right.
never saw that.
Thank you guys for watching my Terminator Death of a Franchise Angry
Death
Rant.
of a franchise. And like you said, it was a dark fate.
It was.
Its own dark fate.
Sorry.
It was its own dark fate. Terminator ends with a dark fate. Damn. Killed John Connor, destroyed Skynet, and killed everything good about the franchise to replace it with hollow characters,
Rev 9.
tropes, shitty Terminator designs, and a crappy future war that is not the 80s James Cameron vision. The only person that I think could come in and save this is James Cameron. But if you look, and he directs it himself, but he's too busy with his Avatar, 15 Avatar sequels, which I'm not interested in. But I don't know. That's
I
it.
do like that this movie opened up the Infinite Arnold theory, and the Infinite Arnold theory is throughout they sent back infinite numbers of Arnold throughout time.
I didn't
and
get
so-
that from the film. People keep saying, "Oh, there's more Infinite
is.
Arnolds." I thought it was just they sent more than one, so maybe there's 3.
Well, she was killing them every single year. She killed Arnold. Every time an Arnold would land, she'd kill it because Carl was sending it. But what if there was hundreds and hundreds of other Arnolds that she couldn't get to, and they're all living in a commune somewhere, just some Carl commune, and they're just like, they're doing drapes, and they have cupcakes, and everything's great. I want to see that movie.
One other thing I wanted to put in this video was I said initially that the Terminator had a good explanation on why he grew a conscience and stuff. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I thought Terminator 1 established you cannot reason with these things. You cannot bargain with them. You can't do any of that. But I think that was when they're in termination mode, right?
'cause he said
once
once-
they complete their mission, then they have nothing. That is a ridiculous programming
But it's just-
deficiency
yeah,
that
it's so
Skynet
funny,
programmed
though.
it. That, oh, my mission's done. It's not report back to base. It's fucking do whatever you
I
want.
can just imagine she's like walking all badass, kills him. Now what? Now what?
I
don't
will
know it.
I will
I'm
have
going.
a wife
Do
and
whatever you
kids,
want.
and I will
Go
do
do
draperies.
Well,
Now
T2
what?
kind of explains it a little bit better when Uncle Bob is hanging
There's
around.
read-only Terminator.
Yeah.
I thought it was read-only, so I don't understand how he can do his own programming.
Well, they're learning computers. That's why he
Right,
learns
no, but-
Hasta La Vista, and he learns all of that.
True.
So
True.
They
Okay,
took
no.
it way too far.
You're right.
But
it's still a good explanation, but it's just a little wacky, and you have to accept it. And that was just one other thing that I thought was good, and it turned out to have a little bit of plot hole-ish. But if it's an infiltrator unit, it's going to try to infiltrate. It's going to try to blend in. So fine. But I don't understand why you had to destroy Skynet. I don't understand why you had to kill John Connor. Oh, well, it wouldn't be interesting to watch John Connor. Tim Miller even says stuff like, it wouldn't be interesting to watch John Connor because, he'd be like an accountant. No, you didn't need to write him like that. That proves that the writers on this, it was like 5-6 writers, and no, it sucked. Because you don't need to write John Connor as an accountant. You can move forward with that universe, and they didn't. Instead, they destroyed the
They
universe.
did, this one, so I actually learned something interesting about how when the writer credits, like if they use the word "and," it shows that they actually wrote the movie together. But if they used the ampersand to connect the two of them, then they didn't write them together. And what happened is one person would write something and send it to another person. And so there were so many people that wrote this movie, and I don't believe they wrote it together. So it's kind of like a hodgepodge of like, I do this part, you do this part, and that's can explain why that it wasn't all that good. See, I wanted them to like kind of fall back into the Skynet hole, and I thought that the whole Dark Fate thing was that no matter what happens, we're going to fall into this. As long as we keep advancing technology, this is the future that we end up at, and it could just be, you know,
But that's
different.
what she said. They never learn.
Who wants to see Congressman John Connor or Accountant John Connor or a John that died from? Seriously, man. You don't need as if this was the only way to write John Connor.
He went on
You're
and
an
he was a
idiot.
dentist.
Yeah.
Forget it. That's it of the end of the video. I just wanted to
She
let
was the
out my
chosen
anger
one.
and rage and you know. This is therapeutic for me. This is one of my favorite franchises,
Was.
and no, it still is.
Was.
These films don't exist except for T1 and T2, and maybe bits and pieces of other ideas if I need more models in a board game. But T1 and T2, all right?
Veto.
And and guess what? We've got the end of another one of my favorite franchises coming up, Star Wars. Rise of Skywalker.
Star Wars.
Rise of Skywalker. We'll see whether the same thing happens, but this time I'm not going to review the film 15 minutes after seeing it. I'm not, guys.
No?
I'm telling. I know we have tickets, but we have tickets to see it twice. And we're not reviewing it until we watch it twice. Because often
thought we were gonna
when
do
you
it
see
twice.
things twice, it's not as good, or you notice things that you didn't see before. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to
Yes.
we'll see. All right, whether 2019 is the year is
So
the
if it's
death of the
bad,
franchises
see it twice.
or whatever. I don't know. We'll
That's
see.
so much Star Wars.
Joe, where does Terminator?
Purple lasers.
Make those lasers purple, Taeon.
Purple.
Seriously, it's just a color slide. Don't tell me. Don't you dare try to tell me that it has to be red lasers because it's a new type of gun or an older gun. No, it's purple lasers.
This is
Just
from a
because it's
different
red here,
time.
change this to fucking purple.
These are Rev 8s.
I don't fucking care, Joe. And to be fair to them, they do have purple. They do eventually do purple. Let me show you the purple.
Is it the
You're
right purple, though?
This gun does purple. So eventually you get purple, I guess, from a fucking sniper rifle or a different type of rifle. Whatever. Purple lasers!
Yeah.
See you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.
Hi, guys.